Hey Brian, I'm just going to go ahead and get us started. Get our
All right.
get our housekeeping out of the way. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing, Sherry?
I'm doing much better, thank you. Just kicking off tonight, welcoming everyone to our Poker Insider space. Want to wish some very special people in my life a happy National Coaches Day. My daughter Natalie, of course, head coach of the ladies tennis team at Gonzaga, and her assistant coach, Caitlin Williams. Happy National Coaches Day to them, as well as my son Ed, who is a high school basketball coach. So just wanted to give a little shout out to them and all the coaches trying to make our young people better people and hopefully teaching them the ways of the world. Again, if anybody wants to see any of our prior shows or spaces, you can find the recordings on our Twitter accounts. Now, for a word about our sponsor, Elevator Results, whose purpose is to provide a service to help people reach their desired fitness goals, whether it be to gain weight, to lose weight, or to improve your sports performance. Elevated Results can help you reach your goals. So, while we wait for Kenna, what you been doing with this new job, bud?
Just having a lot of fun, as is life, man. We're busy, and more busy, and all of that too.
And
Yeah, it's
how
been
is our
crazy.
Cinderella doing?
She's doing great. She's really having a good time, and yeah, they're all
Is
great.
she feeling better after last weekend?
Yeah.
Good,
She's good. Yeah, I got the first weekend out of the way and all that.
good. Well,
So,
I know she wasn't
and how are you feeling?
much better, thank you. I'd started some new medicine and it just gave me a little bit of side effects that I wasn't expecting, but I think we have it figured out. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, I'm trying to dodge all the sickness and everything out here. Man, everybody's getting sick again.
Well, it's that time of
So
year. The kids are back
just
at
avoid all that.
kids are back at school, passing it back and forth, right?
Passing it around. Yep.
We kind
So
of go through
we're trying to dodge that.
we kind of go through it early because we start school here at the beginning of August. So we kind of go through it. You know, my son's a school teacher, so we kind of get it early.
Yeah,
You know, but that
crazy.
time of year again,
Yeah, every year it goes around and around.
right?
So you're gonna be in Vegas at some point?
I am. Right now, my flight is December the 4th. I've been waiting for them to. They did a little bit of crowdfunding for Donna's ticket and Richie or Nomad uh, took that under his wing, so he's been working on that. And as soon as he buys the ticket, because I know that they've raised the money, and I know he'll do it in the next day or two. As soon as her dates are solidified, then I'll probably be changing mine a little bit. But I had bought my one way ticket out there, I don't know, about a month ago, just because the price was so good that I was like, and it's Southwest, so I could change it. Um, so I'm just waiting for that other ticket to be bought, and then I'll solidify my dates.
Excellent, excellent.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Well, I see Ken has joined us. Let me invite him up. Ken, I sent you a request. It may be easier for you just to request in that bottom left corner, and we'll get you approved because Spaces has not been working too well today.
Hey guys,
Hey, how are you?
good. Yeah, I had a hard time connecting. Spaces is not working well, so I hope
Yeah, it's
our
acting.
I hope our connection stays with it.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
it's
good.
been acting a little crazy today, but let me give you a proper introduction, as they say. Our guest is originally from Chicago and moved to Cali to pursue his acting career back in 1985. Had several notable roles on both stage and camera, including roles on both soap operas The Bold and the Beautiful and The Young and the Restless. Kenna has has sat in poker commentary booths for many live feeds such as WPT Canada, the Premier Poker League, and Heartland Poker Tour, to name a few. Kenna James has a little over 4 million in total live earnings, which I think that figure's a little higher, but we're just going to go with that for today. And the best live cash was his second place finish in the 2006 Party Poker $1 Million Cruise, where he received 700,000 in winnings, or I should say earned. Our guest has finished in the money 36 times at the WSOP events, 4 times in WPT events with three final table appearances, and has 20 titles to his name. Welcome, Kenna James, to our Poker Insiders.
Thank you, Sherry. Wow, what an introduction.
Sherry usually goes out there and finds something that nobody knew about the person. They're just like, "How did you get that information on me?"
Yeah.
She does some digging. Um, it's good to have you, Kenna. Good to
Thanks, Brian.
meet up. Yeah.
Good to be here.
So tell us some, like, we're all about like the stories and things like that.
Hmm?
Want to hear like,
Okay.
are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was getting interrupted.
Oh, it's okay. Tell us like a favorite story like from back in the day. I know, like, I want to say that I first heard about you probably around the poker at the Plaza days or something like that. Is that right?
Right?
Yeah. So you were
Uh,
you commentating on that
I
or
did
just
both.
playing?
I played and I commentated. Um, so yeah, what was the name of that show again? Holy shit!
I think it
The
was just poker at the Plaza.
Ultimate
Oh,
Poker Challenge. Yeah,
oh, that's right.
I
Yeah.
won 3 of those. It was television was just you know becoming big, you know, in
Yeah.
poker at that time. There was a lot of great new innovative shows going on. Man Poker had one. They were a mix between poker and game shows type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
There's one called the Poker Den, and but to your specific question, I both played and comment. It was my first commentating job for sure, with Chad Brown. Um,
Oh, that's right.
yeah, and then I did some with GSN Game Show Network, Celebrity versus the Pros. Jeff Merkin was producing that, and you know, uh, I just got some traction as a commentator, and I loved it. It was just so much fun. And as far as the story goes, I remember I was in Monte Carlo playing the Monte Carlo Millions, a $20,000 buy-in, and we make the final table. I was there with Phil Ivey. I don't know if you guys ever saw it, but he had this famous heads up hand with Phil Jackson, where they go back and forth a number of times with these raises and really fantastic
Yeah.
hand. Anyway, so we finished that tournament. I think I finished sixth for 100,000, and biggest tournament I still played to date. I think it was a 20 or 25,000 buy-in. But I come down the next day. I'm in Monte Carlo. I was planning on staying there a week, but it was all rainy and cloudy. And there in the lobby is Jennifer Tilly and the Unabomber Phil Locke. And I said, "What are you guys doing?" They go, "Well, we're getting out of here. we're going to go play a tournament in the Bahamas. And I said, I want to go. They says,
Right?
well, I want to get out of this stuff, this Monte Carlo where it's all rainy and cloudy. And so they said, well, we're doing a TV show with this producer, and we have a what's it called, a chartered plane, and we're doing this TV show called Extreme Poker, and we're going to play poker in all these different places, 30,000 feet in the air, then in the Bahamas. We're gonna go down and scuba dive, and we're gonna play at the bottom of the ocean, and all these different extreme things. So I said, "This sounds great. Can you call your producer?" He calls and he says, "Yeah, if he can get here by 6 o'clock tonight." So I'm scrambling around trying to get on a plane over to London.
Oh,
I got to get to London by 6 o'clock to get on the plane with these guys,
oh,
and I do, and and the whole plane. This is how big poker was. This is probably 2006, maybe. Yeah, six, I think. The whole plane. It was a regular big jet. It was all poker players, and so we're up there gambling, and they're filming this TV show, and then we get into the Bahamas, and then we're getting our wetsuits on, and Phil Locke is there, and we're going down, and they got to weigh the table down. It's about 40 feet down underwater. And they got these special plastic cards, and we're betting seashells, and
I
and
wonder
I
if
can't
that
remember who won.
film is out there still somewhere. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. We were doing one crazy, Sherry. We were doing one crazy show after another.
That's
It
amazing.
was, you know, and a lot of these people didn't know how to play.
I love it. What a great story.
It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Those days, so much fun.
Right?
I
With the
mean,
passing of Doyle this year, do you have a Doyle story for us, Kenna?
I wish I did. I got to play with Doyle a number of times in just WPT events or at the Bellagio, but I can't say that I have any memorable Doyle story. Just it was great to know him. I know his son Todd a lot better. He has a restaurant here in Vegas that I eat at all the time. Um, so no Doyle story. Uh,
That's okay.
I, I do remember he was playing. They were playing that banker game, Andy Beal
yeah.
at the Bellagio. And one day Doyle wasn't playing that at this time, but I walked up to the top section. I'm just walking by, and I just bump into the table because I'm seeing what games are up there. And Todd was playing at the time, and I go, "Hey, Todd, what's up?" You know, I look down. They're playing like 100,000, 100, 200,000 blinds, limit
Gosh.
hold'em. It's not protected at all. I just like bump into the. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Sorry,
Sorry.
sorry. Didn't mean to disturb.
I remember about that time walking into the Bellagio one time, and I sat down and I'm playing, and a guy walks up with two 50K. The one hand has 50K in it, and the other hand has 50K in it. He walks up to the table, he sets 100,000 on the table, and he walks off to the restroom. Like it was like I
No
looked at
big
my friend
deal.
and I said, "Where else would you see this?" But
Right? Yeah.
it's pretty crazy.
Crazy.
Pretty crazy time.
Okay, I've come up with a little rapid fire game for you, Kenna. So I'm going to
Sure.
give you two options. You choose which one fits your style.
Okay.
Pizza or burgers?
Pizza.
Wine or beer?
Wine.
Boxers or briefs?
Brief.
Online poker or live?
Live.
Collared shirt or t-shirt?
T-shirt.
Ocean or swimming pool?
Ocean.
NFL or college football?
NFL.
Scary movie or comedy?
Comedy.
Thank you for playing. Go ahead, Brian.
I was worried about that. You get these questions, but they were so easy. I mean,
Well,
it's a
but it
lot
you
of
know,
still tells
the
pressure.
something
tougher
about you.
the tougher ones is like which comedy. There's so many great comedies like What About Bob, or I'm an old school comedy guy. Trains, planes, and automobiles,
Great movie.
and What About Bob, and
That is one of the best.
Stripes. You say to
Oh,
these kids
Stripes.
today some of these comedies, uh, they've never even heard of them.
Stripes was a great movie with Bill Murray.
Yeah, yeah, funny shit, man.
It was a great movie. Go ahead, Brian.
Tell us about one of your deep runs at the World Series,
One of my
or
deep runs.
one of your titles, or yeah.
I don't have a title at the World Series. The best I've got
Yeah.
like 3 final tables.
You went deep
Uh,
in the name though,
I've got a
right?
28th and a 42nd, I think. The
That's
28th, it was in 2003. I'm sitting on the table between Johnny Chan and Chris Moneymaker.
Wow.
And I guess the story, maybe some of you or your listeners had seen it, but I got involved in this hand. There's probably about 45 players left this time. And Howard Lederer raised under the gun. And I picked up pocket queens. And I 3-bet him. And it folds back to him, and he starts staring me down. And he's got me covered in chips. So I'm starting to get a little nervous, even though I've got queens. I'm like, he's under the gun. He's really thinking that he's got ace king. I might be in a flip for my tournament life in the main event of the World Series. My heart starts beating, and I just start thinking to myself, wow, how do I get out of the way of his piercing gaze?
get it out of
And,
Dodge. Yep.
and this thought just came in my mind: how funny would it be if I was a headless horseman? So I went into my jacket and I zipped it up and I put it up over my face, so it was like a guy with no head that he was staring at. And that move, they kind of grabbed onto it at ESPN and Lon, who later became a friend of mine, and they just they just started laughing. It says it's going to have to come out for air sometime soon. And anyway, he ends up folding, and I end up winning the hand. So the hand wasn't significant, but it got
Well,
me some camera time, and some people laughed and remembered it, and
yeah,
definitely helped me.
definitely one of the iconic moments of that year for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
How
so
did you get started in poker, Kenna?
Um, I was an out of work actor, and a friend of my brother's was in California, wanted to meet me. He went to college with my brother. He said, "Let's go to dinner." I said, "Okay." I got in his car. I was broke at the time, about 1995, I think. We pull into a gas station. He's getting some gas, and he opens up the center console of his car. There's a stack of hundreds about 8 inches high in there. And just like, whoa, what the hell is that? Are you a drug runner? I said, no, I'm a professional poker player. I've been doing it ever since college. So for a guy who's, you know, an out of work actor waiting tables, that looks like a pretty good idea. So I said to him, how do you do that? How do you do that?
Right?
And he said, well, you should go to dealer school, learn how to deal, learn all the mechanics, deal to these guys and learn how they play. And oh, by the way, read this book. And he tosses me a book called Texas Hold'em for Advanced Players by Skalansky and Melman. So the next day, I signed up at dealer school, paid $1,500, and I went every day, pitching cards, learning how to cut chips, learning everything. And I did exactly what he said. And I became a serious student of the game. and I loved it. When I grew up in my family, we were a very competitive household. My brother, my sister were older, so I was always trying to compete to stay up and to be included. And I just loved games. You know, we played pinochle, cribbage, all these kind of games at home, and so it was a natural fit for me. Um, and then I got a job at Hollywood Park Casino as a dealer, and I was playing one and $2 uh, limit hold'em at the time, I think it was, and studying when not anybody was studying the game. I would sit at the table with a legal pad and I'd be writing down every hand I was dealt. You know, we didn't have iPhones at the time, and we didn't have computers and iPads and all this stuff. I'm sitting there with a legal pad writing out every hand I'm dealt, the result of every hand, and trying to strategize. People were laughing at me. What are you doing, writing a book? And I say, yeah, yeah, and you're the star. And so I loved that whole aspect of it. And it was cash games at first,
Speaking,
and that's how
oh,
I found
sorry.
poker. Yeah,
Speaking of writing a book, is that something you're ever considering or have already started or?
yeah. I have. I've got about 8 books. I keep starting books, but I don't complete them, um, which is the bane of my existence. It's part something my father did too. You know, I always had a book, so I am going to complete one. I'm just not sure what kind of book I really want to write. You know, if I'm shying away from technical type of a book, even though those have been most of my efforts. Like technically, people want to know my approach to the game and how I see it and stuff.
Can I give you a
And
suggestion
yeah,
as
yeah, go ahead.
just as a fan of poker? I'm just a
Yeah,
fan of poker besides I love to play it.
right.
I always suggest to people that are thinking about writing about their poker life is to start writing about one of your favorite experiences that you've had in the poker world. Maybe it was a conversation with somebody, maybe it was a chance meeting, and it ended up with you guys being pulled over by the police and them confiscating, some crazy story that happened to you on the journey of poker. And just maybe write about 12 stories, so to speak, about something that happened to you. And that would be 12 chapters of a book. And it would just be a story of, oh, I played in Atlantic City this one time and pretended like I was new to poker and was being coached. And I do have a story about that.
Giving you
But
the framework.
um, right. And for me, I want to hear your stories. I want to hear what happened to you that was crazy in the poker world stories. But that's just me.
Sherry, getting pulled over by the cops. Barry Levy's was the guest a few weeks ago. This is Kenna James.
I love me some Barry. $ pirate 212. But you know what I mean? Just and it could be any experience you had along the way. How you met Brian, if it was a fun story about when you guys first played with each other, whatever. I don't know. That's just my suggestion for what it's worth.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, you know, I I've had such a wonderful journey. I play with so many great people, lots of movie stars, you know, lots of celebrities. But my difficulty is I am such a guy that's in the moment at the time to try and recall. I can when prompted, I guess, but it's tough, you know. Uh, and especially the detail of the story. Like when I was an out of work actor, I'd gotten a job at this restaurant called Beachy of Beverly Hills. It's right on Rodeo Drive there, and it's very high end Italian restaurant. and Sidney Poitier would come in there, and Jay Leno, and I remember trying to open up a bottle of wine, like a $1,200 bottle of wine for Sidney Poitier, and terrified I was going to break the cork. Anyway, and you know, and I'm always all terrified that they were going to change something on the that was on the menu, because the chef was one of these Italian guys that throws a meat cleaver at you if you change something of his artistic thing. But anyway, I'm doing that, and it's not. It's probably about 5, 6 years later. Ironically, I'm invited to a private poker game by Vince Van Patten and Mike Sexton. $10,000 buy-in private game, and they tell me the location. Like, this address looks familiar. I drive up Rodeo Drive, and there it is, Beach A. They're playing on top of the restaurant in this private room on top of the very restaurant that I was waiting tables at, and
I I think
that
you
was
just
pretty cool.
told us. I think you just told us chapter 1 of your book.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't think of those things. They just happened, and
I
it
love
was
it.
pretty cool. Mike Sexton was he was now see, and then when you hang out with people that are great storytellers,
Yeah.
you realize how I see Fats up here. He's a great storyteller. Sexton was nobody better than Sexton. He would tell me stories of Stewie Younger. A great one I'll share with you. It's not even my own story, but just to tell you, like Mike says, back in those days, in the '80s, they were best friends,
Yep.
and he loaned Stewie like $5,000, which was a lot of money at the time. And and they'd go broke, between them here and there. But Mike really needed the money, you know, and so he's down at Binion's, downtown Las Vegas, and he sees Stewie across the room, right? And Mike, if you remember, Mike Sexton had this funny walk to him. He's like a penguin. He's like scooting on over to Stewie, and he's bearing down on Stewie. And he gets up to Stewie, and before he can say anything, Stewie holds up his hand. He says, "Now hold it, Mike. I know I owe you that money, and you're at the top of the list. You open your mouth, and you're going right to the bottom." Because Stewie owed a lot of people money.
Yeah.
Mikey said it was the best line he ever heard. He just bit his lip and swallowed and turned around and nodded and said, "Okay," and walked away. I just love that story.
That's a great
I
story.
I was playing a tournament once at Bellagio, and Mike Sexton walked in. I don't know the other gentleman. Maybe you know him. He said he was the Italian Stallion. You know who I'm talking about, or no?
Which guy? Wait, give me some background on it.
So Mike Sexton walks in with this older gentleman, and he's telling this story about this guy. He called him the Italian Stallion.
No,
But
I don't know.
the crazy thing that, like, Mike walked in. I mean, we're in the middle of a tournament, right? And the tournament like stops. Like, and
Right?
Mike's telling this story about the Italian Stallion. Like, it was just I found that really interesting. Like, just how the whole room like just stopped and listened to his story in the middle of this, and it was like a satellite too. So it's satellite to the 25K championship at
Mm-hmm.
Bellagio. And everybody just stops and listens to Mike's story, and then we go back to playing. It's just a very funny thing. But
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is somebody cooking burgers or is it raining?
I am in this beautiful spot at the Marriott in Las Vegas with towering waterfalls.
Okay, because it got really loud.
No, I've been pretty much in the same spot. You should see how beautiful this is. I mean, this is,
I,
and it's happy hour here. You know,
Good for
uh,
you. Enjoying some Las Vegas.
Yeah. And I have a bunch of friends here. So I'm gonna stick with you about 15 more minutes and answer your
That's
questions,
perfect.
and then
Yeah.
I've got to get back to my party. So, but I was so humbled to get your invitation to come on and talk with you all, and it's just wonderful. So yeah,
Well, we always enjoy your company, and we too are humbled that you joined us.
yeah. I was
Um,
thinking about it. I was thinking, I go, well, you know, what are they going to ask me? I don't know. But I started to make a mental note of things I find hard to believe. Would you like to know what those are?
I'm
Yeah.
waiting.
Yeah.
The first thing I find it hard to believe, especially as a coach, right, is that there are people who don't want to better themselves or their position in the games of poker and life. And that confounds me. And then I thought, well, maybe they don't know that they can get better, that they can do better. Maybe the thought is that, it's too much effort, too much money, or they don't believe in themselves, or they're afraid to ask for help. What do you think the reasons are, guys? Or maybe you don't agree with that. Do you find there's a
No,
lot
it,
of people who
it's
don't want to better themselves or their position in the games of poker and life?
and setting poker aside, right? Like just anything, right? Why, when
Right,
I got into poker, I wanted to go play the World Series of Poker, because that was like the thing in my mind that was like the biggest thing, So I went and did that. I've done that.
right.
Like I whenever I get into something, I want to go and do the best thing and live and have the experience of it or not do it. So
Yeah, but you want to get better at it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, for sure.
You do. You do.
Of course, yeah.
What are
Yeah,
you doing to
and,
get?
and I,
What are you doing to get better?
like definitely one of the things is surrounding myself with people who
Nice,
are good players and listening
nice.
to their thinking and kind of like one of the things we talked about on here with Dutch a few weeks ago. I keep going back to, I said to Dutch over the summer, I said, I don't need to make a lot of money, but, like I have a lot of different sources of income. But if I could make a few thousand a month, like that'd be great. I figure maybe I'll start playing cash games. And he says, well, what stakes are you going to play, and how are you going to beat that game? And do you understand what it takes to make a couple $1,000s a month playing poker? Like, and just having people like that can second guess, not second guess, but like give you input and things like that. And
Challenge your
hearing
knowledge.
and challenge you. Like
Right.
like we've talked about, I think before, Kenna, is like I'll talk about a hand that I think I played great, and you or Dutch will be like, "Oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing! Like, why did you do that?" Like I was telling Dutch about in the main event one time. I had what's his name? I can't remember. Anyway, um, I had him like just totally owned on the flop, and like he put in like 90% of his chips on the flop,
Hmm.
and I just jam, and I'm like basically giving away to him the idea that he wants to fold, like, and Dutch is like, why would you do that? Right? Like you're a ginormous favorite in this spot. Why are you doing that? Right? Like, and I'm like, well, it's the main event, and he's like, that's not a why that's not the right philosophy. Are you there to win or not? Um, so it's just interesting to hear how different people think. What's your opinion of it, Kenna?
Well, my opinion on why so many people don't think to do what they can to better themselves. or their game, or my
Yeah, yeah,
opinion on what? Yeah,
yeah. Just like
you know, some listening to you, it sounds like when people do try to get help, some people criticize them and tell them they're wrong and tell them, they're an idiot and why they think like that. So it kind of discourages people from, when they get that kind of feedback, because nobody likes to be wrong or feel like they failed or,
right,
so I, so I think one of the tools in getting better, like you said, is surrounding yourself with great players. I agree with that for sure. Um, I think reading is good. Uh, I think doing is the best experience,
for sure.
but
Yeah,
not just doing when you're playing. Like I'm one of the coaches on advanced poker training, which is the best software training software on the net, bar none. I mean, where you can go in and play simulated hands and run them over and over and over, and set up situations to practice and stuff. Joining MySpace, the James Gang on Discord. I mean, we're charging people $20 a month, in which they get 2 hours of a seminar. They get a whole community of great players surrounding them and telling, you know, talking strategy. They can submit hands in which I give them feedback on, and they play tournaments. There's so much sick value, and it just boggles my mind because to study privately with me, it's like $200 an hour, right? So I was trying to find a way to where I could access more people and give
right.
somebody so much value for $20, and it just astounds me that more people don't take advantage of that. It's just astounding.
Do
So
you
that
think
that
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 part
to
of it,
me, that oh, I'm sorry, yeah, that to
that,
me
I'm
just means
sorry,
they're happy with where they're at. You know,
well, or do you think part of it is that there's so much content out there, it's hard for people to pick, or they're already knee deep in so much to add more to it?
true, that is true. But if you're not getting better, right? If I read a book and I don't get any better, or maybe I only get incrementally better, but nothing changes. I'm still playing 1-2. I'm not playing 2-5, right?
Right.
Or if I'm a 2-5 player, I'm not advancing. I'm not playing 5-10. Or if I'm a weekly tournament player or a daily tournament player, and I'm not now playing in a year's time, I'm not playing bigger and bigger events. You should be able to look at yourself and say, well, I'm not really changing that much. Maybe I should do something different. And the great thing about the James Gang is it's not static. It's not a book. You're getting real time feedback and real time hands
Right.
on stuff. So, in your case, what you're saying is, yeah, there's all this great content, but if you don't know how to apply it, knowledge without application is useless.
Agree.
You know,
So, yeah,
the thing is too, Kenna, is like people are doing poker for a lot of different reasons, and
right,
and just having it be entertainment and whatever. And I'm not like Joe Moneymaker or whatever, Chris Moneymaker.
right,
I'm not going to be a professional, and that's
right.
fine, But
Of course,
I there shouldn't be any shortage of people that what did I go to first, right? I go to when you ask that question, I go to, well, it's about the community that you have, right? And you have all these people that have never been to the World Series that haven't had the opportunity to build a community like that. But
hmm
they for $20 a month they can jump into that community, like
right.
like that's great.
Yeah, because
So
what's the gap between somebody who just plays for fun, what you're saying, and a professional? What's the gap? The
well,
gap is. Oh, I'm sorry. You go ahead. What do you think the gap is?
I think one of the things you said that for me, right? I used to notice that I would go out to the World Series. I wouldn't play all year. I would go out to the World Series. I would play for the month. I would come back to LA and I'd be killing the games. right?
Right.
And it was because I was like in mid-season form by that point, like that was really it for me, like playing a lot, talking about poker, being in it, like that person that's playing on the other
Right.
side of the table for me, if they're playing every day, and you're showing up, like I said, it's fine. Like, just don't have an illusion in your mind that you're a
Right.
better player than they are when they're playing every day.
Right. I think the gap is competitive. Social, they call them
Okay.
bingo rats. They're not. They're having fun, but they're not competitive. Uh, you can be competitive and not be a pro. And that's the gap I'm trying to fill with the James game. I'm trying to take social players and make them more competitive. Doesn't mean they have to be a pro. Just means if they're playing in a weekly club game, they're one of the best at their club. If they're playing, in a social game, they're winning their social events. Or if they're playing $10 weekly tournaments, they're doing better. It's through competition we learn about ourselves and we improve
Right.
ourselves. And that's what I'm all about. I'm not about just doing something because it's fun with no benefit, other than the fun itself. I'm always for something more, and that more is self improvement. That's me. But a lot of
I
people
like
don't
it.
want that, I just, I just don't understand it. You know,
Well, and I think that's a common thing too. Like when I hear you talk, when I hear Dutch talk, I hear a lot of that same passion, of like,
mhm.
you know, Dutch said to me over the summer, poker is life. He's like, poker is life. I'm like, this could be a movie scene, Dutch. This is awesome. I was all fired up.
Yeah.
We went and played the tag team. Dutch busted us, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. I busted
Of
us. I
course he
busted
did.
us. I busted us. We were fired up. We were ready to take on the world. But that competitiveness is definitely
Yeah.
another level with you guys.
Let me stop you guys for just a second and let those that are listening know that if you want to come up and ask Kenna a question or have a comment, please request that microphone on the bottom left of your screen. We'd love for you to join us. Um, we always believe in the open mic here, so please do so if you are. Um, so, in how do you say it? If you are I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Inclined, if you're so inclined. Kenna, I know that you have your Monday night space and you always make yourself available for questions and comments, and I just love it. Then you guys started your sidekicks are, real fats, and Ice Bunny, of course, is a hardworking gal on your behalf. So Monday night is your spaces. Then with your James game and your Discord, do you have certain nights you're doing tournaments? Is it every day? Um, how often are you doing tournaments?
Yeah. Monday, 4 days a week right now.
Oh, you're cutting out, Ken. You're cutting
Oh,
out.
can you
I'm
hear? Oh
sorry.
no. Can you hear me? No.
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yep. Yes.
All right. Okay. So we start with
Ooh, I think we're having troubles. We cannot hear you, Kenna. And software, I'm trying to get you back up here.
I'm back. I'm back.
Kenna, did we lose you altogether, bud? We cannot hear you.
Well, I can help you here. I
Go
asked
ahead,
Ice
real
Bunny.
fast. Welcome.
I asked Ice Bunny that same question when Kenneth took a break in the space last night, and while he's having a connection issue, I believe they play tournaments on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then they have the. I think then they have the tutorial where Kenneth comes into like a Zoom meeting and meets with them, I think is the next day on Thursday. And they discuss hands and strategies and stuff like that. And there's also many other types of ways to interact in that community, which we will go over on the space again on Monday night.
Absolutely. Monday night at what time, real fast? Let's keep plugging it.
8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. And we will be
And
doing it
that's on
without
Monday
Mr. Kenna
nights.
because he's going to the Raiders game. So we're
Raiders versus Green Bay.
so the show must go on.
And, you know, Kenna and I are both originally from Chicago. So, like me, I'm sure he's rooting against the Cheeseheads because there's not a Bears fan in the world that's going to ever root for a Cheesehead. So, there you have it. Well, I'm just going to, Fast, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Looks like you lost Kenna.
I know, and he's out for dinner. So,
This is
we
like
knew
an
our time
episode of.
was short.
It's almost like an episode of South Park. They killed Kenny. They killed
We
Kenny.
killed Kenny. Well, and I don't want to, I don't want him to worry about it because we knew he needed to go join his dinner party. But if you had anything else you'd like to add, or Brian, and then we can. Oh, there he
There he is.
is.
He's
Hey,
back.
Kenna.
Oh, almost.
We cannot hear you, Kenna. Sorry, but go ahead. Try it again.
Hello?
Hello. Oh, it's so frustrating, I'm sure, for him. And Spaces has acted up all day today. Kenna, if you can hear me, just go enjoy your dinner, pal. I appreciate you coming, and we will talk soon. And Software, did you have anything else to add, bud?
All right.
Look at they say if you guess.
Software's having issues too.
So, that's just me and you, Sherry.
Just me and you, Fats. I guess it's just meant to be today.
We could start. No, we could start next week's talk.
You're right. Next week, Fats is going to join us, and we are going to get the lowdown on his illustrious career. And I'm so looking forward to it because every time you have a conversation that I'm around, I learn something new, and look forward to chatting.
And I do too. And that's 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Next week.
Yes, that's right. We're back to that 7:30 Eastern time next week. And I'll be real honest with everybody. I was sick this week and just had a brain fart, and I don't know how I got back in my head for 8 o'clock today. So I'm sorry about that. But it's definitely 7:30 next week. And I appreciate everybody listening. And Fats, thank you. And Merv, I see you, and Barry and ACP. Aces Up and iHawk and RDB. Thank you for joining us this evening. And of course, Kenna and Brian. So thanks, everybody. Fats, I'll talk to you soon, and good night.
Good night.